today we have a special guest. Meet Narek. He's a successful content writer, and today he will share with us his tips. Hey, Narek, thank you for accepting this interview. How are you?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm pretty
Thank
fine. How
you.
are you?
Good, thank you. Let's quickly jump into the really burning questions everyone has about content writing. So please share your expertise
All right.
with us and tell all the freelancers how they can start their freelancing journey, how they can make money, what are the platforms that you are using as a content writer, and so on. Let's get started. Now,
All
the
right.
first question. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, of course, and your content writing journey.
My name is Narek. I've studied English from a very early age. I've always liked writing, and I've kind of been writing pretty much all my life. And then at one point, I don't even remember who it was, but somebody had the great idea that I should probably start making money off of my writing skills. So I tried out some freelancer gigs here and there, and eventually I actually turned it into a semi-professional career, and then later on I turned it into a professional career. I did study English. I have a BA in translation and interpretation from Farsi to English and vice versa. I also have a master's in English literature. So kind of words are basically my life, reading, writing, and it was about time that I started making money off of it.
So that's kind of a long journey and a lifelong story. So how to actually become a good content writer? What are the top 3 things that content writers should know?
Top 3 things. Well, if you're gonna write, well, in this case, we're talking about English, but I think that this stands for any other language as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be fluent in the language that you're writing in. Otherwise, you're wasting your own time. You're wasting your client's time doing all the revisions and edits and over again. So number one is definitely fluency, and obviously, it's going to take time for you to get there.
Yeah.
So you got to keep making mistakes, and then eventually you'll get there. So you have to work on your fluency first, of course. The second thing I would say is creativity, which most people don't have. If you're good at English, that doesn't necessarily make you a good content writer. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very good at English, but they're not really good writers. So you have to keep being creative, and there's techniques of doing that. There's ways of doing that. The third advice that I would have is to read as much as possible, because they're very correlative, reading and writing. So you have to read, and you shouldn't just read a specific type of text. I even read, the labels on bottles, or even like any sort of content that there's out there for you to consume. You have to consume it, and you have to start reading it. So when it comes to working with different clients, you have that flexibility to basically adjust your writing skills to different industries, different needs, and all that stuff. You have to read more, a lot more than you actually. That's definitely my experience.
Thank you. So how much do content writers earn on average?
Well, that kind of depends on the sphere and the
Yeah.
industry.
And on the
I mean,
level, yes? On the
yeah, of
level
course.
of the
I
freelancer?
mean, what I do is basically I have in my head I have 4 levels of content writing. To start from the top, that's the professional level, is when you're completely fluent, you're very easily moving around the subject. Second level would be the silver, level, which is like you're almost getting there, and then you have the bronze level, which means you're a beginner, and then you have the random content generator level, which is the lowest one, which is basically just putting in on Google and cheating your clients. So depending on if you're professional, if you're writing in different spheres, you can make anywhere starting from $500 and up. If you're writing, let's say, technical texts, this includes, like, if you're dealing with sensitive information, that's like very secretive. You can't really, talk about it, then obviously they're going to pay you
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
You know, to write the content and to shut up about it at the same time. So it kind of depends. It's like if you're a beginner, you can make anywhere from $300 to $400 and up. And of course, if you're doing freelance, you can just make bits and pieces of money, and then you'll some months you'll see you've made $1,000. Some months it's like $150. It's very like random.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that you, as a content writer, you have to read a lot. You have to read different types of texts. But what are some go-to platforms, some reading materials, maybe, or courses that content writers could take?
Um, I personally have never taken writing courses.
Mm-hmm.
I've studied writing books, but never like I only had like one writing course in university, honestly.
Yeah.
Even though I did study literature, but we just read literature. We didn't really write it ourselves. I
Yeah.
did, but it was not like an academic thing, so we just did it for my own sake. Um, so if you want to read instructional material, if you're a beginner, I would recommend a book called what was it called? I should have it right here. Let me bring it up.
Okay. Guys, while Narek is going to check out the resources for you, I want to tell you that this is a really late hour, and we are recording this video this late because both of us live in a really noisy street, and it's really difficult to get a good hour for recording a video without any background noise. So I hope you appreciate
I
that and
agree.
give us a thumbs up.
Right. So for writing, obviously, I don't know if you're gonna mirror the video, but it's a book called The Practical Writer. It kind of looks like
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is an old edition because I'm a dinosaur. I think they changed the color on this. So this is good for beginners. Is if you're not familiar with writing and you just want to get into things, I definitely recommend this book. It's super, yeah, it's easy to work with, and it has tons of exercises you can use. It's amazing.
Mm.
I actually use this to teach my writing students.
Oh,
Um,
great.
and also, if you do have a certain level of competency when it comes to grammar, but you just want to make it better, you want to have stronger sentence structures and all that stuff. Obviously, you need to brush up on your grammar, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what I recommend. It's a book called it's called Understanding and Using English Grammar.
Uh-huh.
It's by Betty Azar. She's not Persian, even though she sounds like one. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, this is very good as well. These two books I definitely recommend.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any other resources?
Yeah, literature. I mean, anything goes. Like for me, English, most of my words come from literature. A ton of my words come from movies and music.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, like, I would say if I want to use more colloquial, friendly language, I would use, I've learned mostly from TV series.
Mm.
So if you want to use like everyday friendly language, I would recommend watching sitcoms, Friends, How I Met Your Mother. These are perfect. If you're looking for more professional, like business-like language, I would recommend The Newsroom. So, and it's like I think the seasons are over. You don't have to wait and torture yourself for a new episode. So those two definitely I recommend. Music, movies, and books as
Mm.
much as possible, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And how do you find freelance clients? Are there any like go-to platforms for you, or is it just your network?
It's mostly my own network because even though I've been freelancing, because where I'm from, we didn't really have access to any freelancing tools because of the limitations of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically built a network of people, and luckily when I moved to Armenia, it's a smaller market. So
Mm-hmm.
if you get like 2 or 3 freelance clients, they'll like your work, and of course you have to have a good attitude as well. It's not just a work. You can be a
Yeah.
great content writer, but if you have crappy attitude, people are not going to work with you. And unfortunately, and fortunately, in Yerevan, your reputation spreads pretty fast.
Yeah.
So if you screw something up, and then they say, hey, this guy sucks, and then the other person, oh yeah, him, yeah, I know him, he sucks. So I got 2 or 3 freelance clients because of my friends who knew them, and they actually became part of my network, and they started transferring the news that, hey, there's a guy who's good at his job. So yeah, that's basically what I've been also experimenting with Upwork, but I'm relatively new. So once I get there, then maybe we'll do another interview, and I'll have advice.
That's great. That would be great, actually. So, as a freelancer and content writer, what's the best thing about content writing? What do you love most?
Writing, and to put it simply, I love writing. And it's such a stupid answer, but I actually love writing. I love coming to work and basically doing what I love to do. Because there's 2 things that I love doing. One of them does not pay well. That's teaching. So I kind of don't want to be a professional in that sphere. But writing is actually something that I've been doing basically all my life as like a passion or something. Instead of playing football, I was writing stuff. So having the ability to write and to make an income out of it, that's the thing. Even if there's a specific type of content, this happens a lot with freelancers, by the way, is that you'll get a client, you'll get a topic that you're not really interested in. Even then, I love doing it because it's still writing.
Oh.
And I love challenging myself. And I think I've written content from the most stupid things you can't even imagine. I wrote content for a company that made smart toilets.
Oh.
Like the toilet seat.
I don't think that's stupid.
I mean, it was very strange. I'd never done it before. It was like the product was basically, it was a toilet seat, and it had like some sort of eye, like an infrared eye on top. So then instead of actually, just doing that and flushing, like, you had to just like wave, and then you would flush the toilet.
Oh.
So it was a very weird thing to do. It was the first time I was doing it. I had to sound excited about toilets, and I had never done that before. So it's still enjoyable. That's one example. Another example is a guy who hired me to write rap lyrics for him, which I'd never done before. So that was it's not my music of choice, but I enjoyed writing the lyrics to it.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy writing it in correct grammar, but I did like doing it. So yeah, that for sure, writing anything.
And what's the thing that you dislike about writing content?
What I dislike about there's a couple of things. I wouldn't say dislike. I don't like clients who are too pushy. Luckily, I haven't really had many of those. Most of my clients are very patient. If they give me, I don't like clients that don't give me deadlines, but then require me to give the writing fast.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't really specify that, did you? And then they get mad if I charge them extra, because they're like, I don't like them. Not I don't like them, but it's just like it's a pain to work with them.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I don't like working with, I would say, 75% of SEO specialists, just because we don't get along. Well, luckily we do, but I've had a couple of experiences where they were like, and they were saying, like, put this word in there. I'm like, no, I don't want to put it in there. I want to put it there. So yeah, it was just like a friendly feud. It wasn't like a serious argument or anything.
It's actually
and what I also don't like. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you brought it up, because when we had to start working together, I was like afraid. The first thing that I was afraid of is the content writer, because lots of the times I as an SEO specialist, I have this issue with content writers. They're like, I have written this text, I'm not gonna change it by any means. So that's why I go, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, water and oil. See,
Yeah,
we just
that's
don't
the
live.
issue.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the next one,
yeah,
what
that's
comes
the
up
problem.
there?
Yeah, so there's one other thing that I don't like. It's not that I don't like. I mean, I can get around it fairly easily. It's
Mhm.
when I'm writing a specific. If I don't have enough flexibility, that irritates me.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, because I'm a very creative person. I was a creative writer first,
Yeah.
and then I became a content slash copywriter.
Yeah.
So I like to be very creative, and sometimes when the topic is like repetitive, like you're
Mhm.
writing about the same thing over and over again, it kind
Mhm.
of gets irritating. But luckily, I know how to get around that, and hopefully, like
Yeah.
later on, maybe we'll do another video where I will talk about different techniques that you can use to make your content better and to not kill yourself because of boredom.
Yeah,
You know,
we can talk about it actually. If we get some
yeah,
like interesting comments, people are interested in that, we will have another
yeah,
conversation about that. As you talk
of
about
course.
content writing and copywriting, I know that you have a lot to share, but to sum it up with some like 2 3 sentences, what's the difference between content writing and copywriting?
That's a very good question that
Yeah.
not a lot of people know the two. Basically, for content writing, you're writing texts that generates engagement
Hmm.
with whatever business you're representing. That's
Hmm.
like social media, that's blogs and articles and stuff like that. Copywriting is basically you're doing what a salesperson would do to sell a
Hmm.
product, only you're doing it in using words basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the two main different things. It's like
Hmm.
copywriting is designed to sell, content writing is designed to
Hmm.
engage the audience, and
Yeah.
they work together. By the way, you can't have a company which doesn't have either one, because you have
Hmm.
to. Of course, you have to engage the audience first, then they're interested, they come in, and then you hit them with the copy, and then and then you make the sale basically.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
you that's the difference. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you. And do you have a portfolio? How do you like in general create portfolio for content writers?
This was a trial and error for me
Hmm.
because at first all I had was like a blog
Hmm.
where I put my personal writing, and
Hmm.
until a good friend of mine like, dude, like nobody's gonna read your poems, and what I mean. So it was I was like, okay, this is wrong. You should probably not be doing this. So eventually, I've designed a website
Hmm.
where it's basically a mix of service website and my portfolio. It's still
Hmm.
under construction. So
Hmm.
over there in the blog section, if you visited, you'll actually see the different types of content that I write, and I'm just like
Hmm.
putting everything there so people can see how I mold myself to different industries. There's going to be
Hmm.
everything in there from articles, journals, basically,
Yeah.
blogs for different industries, and even lyrics. I'm going to put in there, and then
Hmm.
links to the songs, or maybe not links to the
Hmm.
songs because I don't think people will like them. But yeah, just the lyrics would do. So anything that people can see, like the type of services that I do. So yeah, there's a website. I do recommend people if you guys want to start out. If you're not on that level yet and you can't really spend much because you're not
Hmm.
earning enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can just do like a blog which you can send the links to different
Hmm.
clients. But as you progress, you start to earn more, and you have that small bit of money to invest. I do recommend actually setting up a proper website and like
Yeah.
having your or if you're doing a video medium, you can do YouTube or Instagram,
Yeah.
anything that shows the type of content that you create would do. But I think a website would be pretty cool to have,
Yeah.
just like a portfolio of your writing. It should be pretty cool. Yeah.
Hmm. By the way, if you guys don't have the means or are not uh, in the phase when you want to start your own blog, you can visit websites like Journal Portfolio. I will leave the link in the description. It's a portfolio website for content writers. If you don't pay anything, it's just you can use 5 or 6. I'm not really sure. You can add 5 or 6 portfolio items, and it's free, so you can basically start from zero, start from spending even a single penny. right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. You can actually write stuff like that,
Hmm.
and then there's other stuff you can do as well. You can
Yeah.
write B2B content.
Hmm.
Somebody wants to publish it on their own, you can just do it like that. But make
Yeah.
sure, here's an experience that I had when I was working with different freelance clients. Some of these people were not really okay with me sharing the text. Um,
Yes. Uh-huh.
you know,
I wanted to
that
ask you
happens.
about that.
That happens. That happens. You know, some people have like NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, which you have to
Uh-huh.
sign. Is like, I'm not going to share it, and for different reasons. Some of this stuff was secret. Some of this stuff was like the guy didn't want to know that. The guy didn't want others to know that he wasn't the person writing it. You know,
Ah.
so that's like ghostwriting.
Mhm.
If you guys are familiar with that, and I do recommend sometimes beforehand having like a chat with your client
Mhm.
and maybe asking permission to share those links in your portfolio, even if it's like a resume. That would be pretty cool. So then you can
Yeah.
actually use the content that you produce. That's one
Mhm.
advice that I would have.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really important so that the clients know you are like using the content and they're really okay with that. And another question regarding being okay with something, are you okay with free test tasks? How do you deal with clients who ask you for a free test task?
You mean like the free of charge things,
Yes,
services?
yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm open to it to a degree.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I mean, at my level, I don't really need to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, I'm getting somewhere where if the client just looks at my portfolio, they kind of know
Uh-huh.
what they're getting.
Mm-hmm,
So it makes no sense for them to get like a
mm-hmm.
free thing. But since I'm a humble person, I would like to think of myself as a humble person. I always, whenever there's a client, I'm like, hey, okay, so you want to do this? Let's let me write like a 400 to 500 word text based off of whatever you want me to work on. I'll send it to you. Take a look at it. If you like the writing style, then we'll go from there, and I won't charge you for that. That's good because the client can see that I can actually mold myself to their needs. And hey, I mean, even if they decide to keep the text and then go away and not work with me, I am clever enough to write the text in a way that they can actually use it. So it's always that thing. You need to do. You need to be like. You need to put yourself in a win-win situation. So like, even if the client doesn't want to work with you, you know, depending on the client, I've had clients that we hit it off during the interviews. We became
Mm-hmm.
friends actually fairly fast, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually produced content for them. Just because of my personal preference, I did like a complete blog for them. And eventually, for whatever reason, they decided not to work with me, but I let them keep the blog. So that,
Yeah.
just like as a friendly thing.
Hmm. Interesting.
It depends on the
And
client's.
hmm. And what's your advice to those who want to start writing content as a freelancer or in general?
Okay. Well, my first advice would be get fluent.
Mm,
All right. Make sure you have the competency that you need to write content. And
mm-hmm,
this fluency thing kind of applies to anything else. And
mm-hmm,
any profession you want to go into, you have to have the base for it. So obviously, when I'm saying fluent, I don't mean write Shakespeare from memory.
mm-hmm,
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about basic grammar, advanced knowledge of grammar. You need that for sure, because
mm-hmm.
that's like it's like getting a job that has to do with numbers and then not being good at math. It makes no sense. So you have to have that like the foundation. Once you have that, then start writing first a little bit, just on your own sake. If you're just starting out, look at some blogs of things that interest you. Let's say in fashion. Go take a look at fashion blogs. Try to recreate that content. And then once you have the confidence to know that you're going to produce something original without plagiarizing, then
Mm-hmm.
go look at for clients, right? And
Yeah,
then
that's great
and here's
advice.
another advice: don't bite off more than you can chew. So if you're looking at something super serious and you kind of know you're not ready for it yet, don't take that project on. That's going to ding you for many reasons. First of all, the client will be unhappy. You'll get into arguments, not arguments, but like verbal, disagreements with each other quite often. You will get discouraged because you'll keep like, I keep writing and it sucks all the time. Why? And then you'll start to getting discouraged, right? Number three is be open to criticism, which is kind of the opposite of what I just said. If a client wants to change something, take a look at it. They might be right. Okay.
Yes.
they might be right. They may be like, okay, this makes total sense if I put it in here like this. But sometimes you might also be the person who's going to have the upper hand. You're like, hey, I'm professional at my job, so I know that this is supposed to be written this way. So be very open to criticism. If they say something, learn from it. I know a lot of my own students who were like discouraged from writing blogs just because they had 2 or 3 disagreements with their clients. Oh, come on, guys. I mean, you have to learn from those.
Yeah.
That's how I learned. I kept writing and, like, okay, this is the mistakes that you're making. Like, okay, fine. So I learned from that. Another advice is this is when you get to a point where you have a decent portfolio and you can get, higher tier clients, is be humble. Be as humble as you possibly can, but not to a point where you're harming yourself, right? And you're like charging less and stuff. No, that's not being humble. Being humble, I mean, okay, the guy is like, be chill with them. Become friends with them, because those guys are going to create your network. If you have one good client, it's going to create a ripple effect. You get another one, another one, another one. Especially in a place like Armenia, where it's like super small. So be very humble, and also be very transparent with your clients. This is very important. Don't trick them, and have a sense of responsibility to not copy stuff. Because believe it or not, maybe the client won't figure it out, but Google definitely will, right? So this is super important, super important. And as for the writing techniques and stuff like that, I'm gonna have blogs soon. You can just go check them out, and we can do another call. I'll give like professional, like technical tips, basically, to write better.
Yeah, we can have another call for like more technical and a little bit of advanced level conversation about content writing. So thank you for the tips. I hope these are helpful. Anything else you'd like to add?
Anything else I'd like to add? Keep reading, keep writing, keep listening, and keep talking. Okay, and this is one advice that I would have. Here's the thing. You have to be able to detach this is how I do it. I have to be able to detach myself. Sometimes I make this mistake. I have to detach myself from the text and then look at it from the perspective of my audience. And this is, again, a very technical thing, but still, always be ready to do that. When you're writing something, you have to read it out loud. This is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have as a content writer. Even if it's like one paragraph, read it out loud. Does this make sense? Because all the 4 skills of English and any other language, I'm sure, they're all connected. So if you're reading something out loud, you're automatically listening to it, and then from listening to it, you can figure out how to change it. If you're doing a copy, how to make it more salesy. Imagine yourself selling that thing, like, as like in person. How would you sell it? What intonation would you have? And then when you figure that out, then you can write better. And have other people read it too, so then you can do the speaking, listening, writing, and reading, and then match those up together. That's my last piece of advice.
Accept feedback.
Yeah, of course.
For all the advice that you had. Guys, if you have any questions, write them down in the comments below and we'll try to answer them. I hope this interview process is helpful for you to get to your career where you get to be a really good content writer and earn lots of money. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you, Narek, for this interview. It was really helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.